In the heat of battle, we rise to the occasion. With courage in our hearts and unwavering dedication, our mission, united to protect and defend, fighting for justice until the very end. Mission, united to protect and defend, fighting for justice until the very end. Brave soldiers, we stand tall, marching forward, one and all. Together we'll conquer, we won't back down. Nothing can stop us, we wear the crown. We are the heroes of the battlefield, fighting for what's right, our spirits never yield. With every step we take, we'll conquer and endure, as we honor the soldiers who came before. Got to get tough, y'all, Joe.
Warning. From the hilt cautions that mature content may ensue during this video that includes foul language, possible adult situations, violent implications, and perhaps a little something something. Wink wink. Nudge nudge. A little racy even. Keep in mind that it's all in good fun. Now that we've gotten all prim and proper, please enjoy the show.
Greetings, I'm Logan the GI Joe Gamer. Tonight I'm going to be behind the icon because I'm not really ready for primetime cast. But if you see me like this, I'm live. But if you see me on the screen, that will be one of my Joe takes, which we're going to get into right now. Let's just start it up. See if I can get her going. All right, here we go. Greetings. I'm Christopher Logan Hilt, the GI Joe Gamer. Today on Joe Takes, we're taking a look at Major Bludd and wrapping up the last of the Cobra Convergence 7. So, Major Bludd from the Hilt. We'll jump right in and talk about the vintage figure. Now, I never had the vintage accessories, so I had to use the stuff from the battle pack because I think somebody just gave me Major Bludd at some point way later. I didn't have him when I first started collecting. I actually think I had the later version in the Sonic Fighters Major Bludd with the big old backpack that made noises before I got this one. But I never really cared for that figure as much. And once I finally acquired this guy, I think my brother had him, and he ended up giving me all his figures at some point because he was too old to collect, even though he was younger than me. I took a bit of Sharpie to him and shined him up a little bit, made all his blacks black, as it were. And I changed the O-ring on this one because it needed it really bad. The leg on this guy is really stiff for some reason. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I think I did clean up the leg, so maybe that's what it is. But I thought it was a pretty cool figure. I love the arm that I always assumed was for protection against his rocket pistol. And he has these 3 rockets in the backpack here. And so that's what I always thought that was. But according to the classified figure, it's a bit more. So there he is. He's a bit run down, but still intact for a vintage figure. But that's the vintage Major Bludd. Now I do have a 25th anniversary carded example of Major Bludd, and I like how they brought out the dog tags a bit more on him because he collected dog tags after he killed a soldier, and he claimed he killed a bunch of Joes, but there's nothing confirmed on that one, except for General Flag, which I'm pretty sure that was him and not Scarface. But I would have to double check that in the old comic books, and we can look today to verify that. I happen to have that right here. So, but anyway, it was a decent enough figure. I actually prefer the vintage to this one. It's a lot of the 25th anniversaries. I do prefer the vintage. Too. This happens to be one of them. Some I like the 25th anniversary version better. But that kind of takes us to the box art for this guy. He's number 27 in the series. And then, you have the box art here. And I love this box art. A lot of people do. I got a really good picture of this that I used on the promo for this video last Monday. So it'll be near the end of the video as well. And that takes us to the classified figure. Now, the only thing I didn't like about this figure, I don't know if people have a gripe about it, I never could get these dumb missiles to stay in the backpack. So I'm just going to take them off because they're going to fall anyway while we look at this figure. Now, as I was talking about the arm, they definitely made it to be an artificial arm on the classified figure. It is robotic in some way, but you know what? With the bats and everything, he might have had the reason why he wore that prosthetic part back then is because they didn't have the technology to have a really decent prosthetic, but now he's got one. He's got a really cool pistol that he came with. I know I don't really show off all these accessories, but this one, oh my goodness, this is a hand cannon. I kind of like hand cannons. I don't know why. They're just the concept. Now, he came with that, plus the rocket launching gun actually attaches to his backpack, which is pretty cool. I mean, the rocket snaps right in there, and then he's got his rocket launching gun, which is the way it was in the vintage. So only the missile didn't come out. It does now, but with a figure of this size, if they hadn't been able to make it do that, why? Because then they can also put the blast effects in there too. So I haven't done that yet with him because I've got the Viper 3-pack. So I could check that out. Let me set his accessories aside because there's still a few things I wanted to talk about. He's got these shin guards and metal tips on his boots. That's pretty cool. We're looking at the dog tags. Like I said, they brought those out in the 25th anniversary. But this is pretty good. I mean, I think they could have done a better job with the classified figure, but that's just me. And his helmet is removable, and that face sculpt is just incredible. I don't know how to say it any other way. Major Bludd. This figure is very well done. I like this figure a lot. So that's the figure. So let's talk about the comics a little bit. I will, like I said, I'll take a quick look at issue 19, which is where General Flag met his demise. And since we're sitting here, we can do stuff. I'm gonna have to get my cheaters. Sorry, guys. Gotta see what I'm looking at here. I'm pretty sure it happened somewhere near the end. That's where Quinn. That's his demise. Looks like it was not so much in the end here. Where is? Oh no, he was still a prisoner at this point, so it has to be. Has to be in here somewhere. I love this old artwork. Larry Hama as the author. There's a lot of the sketches, and so for this, it was pretty cool. It looks like maybe Major Bludd has already escaped at this point, so I keep skipping over it. Oh, there he is. And there it is. Yes, it was Major Bludd. He shot General Flag right in the heart. So that was it. So that's a dog tag he can actually claim, unfortunately. I was pretty sure it was him and not Scarface, but it had been a while since I read that one. Oh, make sure I put this back in the right spot. Yeah, 17. Okay. So, yes, that a bit of GI Joe comic book history. Major Bludd killed the original GI Joe commander in the comic books. I like this particular issue right here, where he's lining Snake Eyes up in a scope. Of course, he didn't actually shoot Snake Eyes, but he tried. He tried. Actually, that one he was after someone else, and Snake Eyes kind of got in the way. And I'm pretty sure he got who he was supposed to get. Which was odd because even after shooting General Flag, the U.S. government hired him for that job. So it's weird the way things work in reality and in story. But Major Bludd, in the comic books, he was kind of like, I don't know, it was weird. He wasn't really part of the hierarchy. He was actually a mercenary, like he was supposed to be. When he first came on the Cobra, he led a few times on the Cobra troops, but for the most part, that wasn't his role. His role was just to do a certain job, and then that was it. He'd get paid to do a job. He had a thing for the Baroness, but who doesn't? You can't blame him. Major Bludd, when him and the Baroness, they got together to conspire against Cobra Commander. They actually tried to get his son Billy to shoot him, and they kind of conditioned Billy to shoot Cobra Commander in front of a crowd, but Destro ended up stopping that, which was funny because he had no idea what their plots were behind the scenes because he wasn't really that invested in Cobra yet, if he ever really was. But Major Bludd, that was pretty much it after he left in the comics. I mean, he had one little bit where he went and disguised himself as Destro and took over Destro's castle for a little while. And Destro came and took it back, but with the help of Flint and Lady J, ironically enough. That's some good stuff. But then you didn't really see Major Bludd in the comics pretty much until later on when he showed back up to do that job. Wasn't it? I don't know if he was a big for Larry Hama. I don't know if he was one of his favorite characters or not. For me, Major Bludd, he's in the middle tier of Cobras. I don't remember where he places in my rankings of which Cobras I like the best, but I think he's in the top 20, maybe, or at least top 30. He's like I said, he's not one of my favorites, but he's a cool character. I thought it'd be a good way to end Cobra Convergence 7 is with Major Bludd showing up to do a job for Destro there. Now in the Sunbow cartoon, it was a little different. He would lead Cobra troops. He was their go-to field commander, and well, as a major, that's what he really should have been. In a lot of ways. I mean, I know he ended up being a mercenary, but Cobra in the comics, I don't really remember them utilizing him in that capacity as a field leader. Generally, when they were in the field with Major Bludd, either Cobra Commander or Destro or even the Baroness was there, and all three of them definitely outranked Major Bludd in the Cobra hierarchy, no matter what. Excuse me. I still got a bit of a stuffed up nose here this week, but I'm feeling a lot better. That's for sure. I had a rough week last week, but I think I'm getting a little better today, and I'm feeling a lot better for sure. Now, favorite moments in the Sunbow cartoon with Major Bludd, I think one of them was Cobra Stops the World, where he had the Joes all trapped in a. Well, he had Duke and Ace. They got shot down, and he had spoke this indigenous language of these native people in this jungle terrain, and he used them to capture Duke and Ace, and then he went to throw them in a pit of snakes or pit of vipers maybe, and it turned out he almost got thrown into the pit of vipers, and that was an interesting twist. There was the vipers coming where Destro thought he was the viper and was beating him up for information. That was kind of interesting, but overall, he was in the major miniseries as a field leader. I don't remember if he was in Pyramid of Darkness, but I know he was in the first two. Definitely in Mass Device, he was their field leader on almost every mission. Not so much in Revenge of Cobra. I mean, he led that one mission to the Temple of Doom, as it were. And he ended up succeeding in that one. He got the whatever the name of that MacGuffin was for that episode. But so Major Bludd actually turned out to be a formidable Cobra to GI Joe, and that's what was cool about him. And that is what I like about him. He's a formidable foe. He's not necessarily the standout enemy, not necessarily the standout Cobra villain. He's definitely a Cobra in my eyes, and where I put him in my hierarchy for Cobra is I have a ranking system for Cobras, and the highest military officer rank for Cobras is Commander, and he kind of fills that role. And as much as I like, I have a Copperhead in command of the Python Patrol, but he led it for a while, which was kind of neat. I think they had a convention exclusive of Python Patrols there in the early 2000s where Major Bludd was the leader for a little bit, but Copperhead is definitely the Python Patrol commander. In my eyes, anyway. But Major Bludd, where to put him? That is the question. I mean, half the time he's plotting against Cobra Commander, half the time he's loyal. In Resolute, the animated GI Joe, they put it into a movie, but it used to be internet shorts or mini films. They were like 15 minutes long, 10 to 15 minutes long each, and then they put them all into one movie. And so GI Joe Resolute is actually more for adults. And right at the beginning of that, Cobra Commander killed Major Bludd for being a traitor or not succeeding. Is probably closer to the mark. So we saw how Cobra Commander really felt about Major Bludd, but in the comics, Cobra Commander used Major Bludd the way he was supposed to. He was a mercenary. When he needed a job, he'd call Major Bludd. Major Bludd would do the job. United States would even call Major Bludd to do the job. He'd hire out to just about anyone. That's what made him a real mercenary. In the cartoon, definitely a Cobra operative. He definitely sided with Serpentor when Serpentor took over. When he came back in the Deke animated series, he was definitely a Cobra operative again, but I don't remember that series very well, so I can't really comment on that. But I don't think he was a field leader much of that. Just like he was just like there as a Cobra agent, which is how most of them were. So that about sums it up on Major Bludd. I mean, cool Cobra, definitely a cool classified figure. Had to have this when it came out. I didn't have to get lucky. I mean, they had this guy in the Target stores. He was a Target exclusive. It was a Cobra Island figure. They definitely had him in the stores up here where I live. Cobra Island exclusive. I didn't show the back of this. I like how they targeted like little sections of the island, like where the mission was supposed to be. I guess they never really clarified. Then they have these symbols who, you had to look it up on the website to see. And now they've shut the website down. So, but they still have the symbols on the box art. So it's like, I wonder where they're going to go with that. Are we going to get a decoder book, maybe? Maybe if they had a booklet inside, they've got those stupid little warning labels on the inside. Why couldn't they put a little booklet on how to decode the the skills? So instead of a file card, that's what they give us. I prefer the file cards, and in the artwork near the end of the video, I will have his file card in there for you to check out. So that kind of sums up how I feel about Major Bludd, and I could probably talk GI Joe all day today, and I'm feeling pretty good. So with that all being said about Major Bludd, Logan out. Greetings. I'm Christopher Logan Hill, the GI Joe Gamer. Welcome to Joe Takes 15. Today we're going to talk about Gung Ho from the Hilt. This will be part 5 of our Operation Dungeon Siege, and the first part in our GI Joe Goldbricks part, because we had Cobra Convergence 7 last month. This month we're doing all Joe characters. So let's get right into it by taking a look at Gung Ho. Now, it'll be full disclosure here. I ended up having to buy a new Gung Ho. I had mentioned that in an earlier video, that my original Gung Ho actually had the upper torso, arms, and head of Gung Ho. Actually, I think the arms were from the 92 version, as well as the legs. But I managed to acquire an original from vintage from 1983, and this one is in really good shape. And it wasn't that bad price-wise. I picked it up on eBay for a little bit of nothing, and the seller shipped it to me pretty quick. So I've had it for about a month now. It's been sitting here on my desk waiting for this video. The tattoo, man. I love that old tattoo. And I didn't remember that he had a knife on the boot and the pistol. I remember the pistol. I remember those things on the side. As a kid, I didn't know those were for his grenade launcher, even though I should have. But definitely, as I got older, I did. And grenades on his vest. I have a lot of fond memories of Gung Ho. But that's the classified. As for the classified figure, I mean, with her too. So we'll start by taking a look at the first one that came out. But we'll look at, like we normally do, we'll take a look at the box art first. I like the box art on this one. He's number 7 in the series. Let's see if I can do this right today. And box art, I like the box art. I didn't find a really decent one. And now I have a scanner. I should have scanned this myself, but I didn't because I had other pictures. But moving forward, I probably will do that myself if I can't find a decent enough pick. And that's the standard back on that. This Gung Ho, not so bad. I don't mind it. Then of course we have the retro one come out, and I had to open it. But here's the card art for that, and these file cards are just, I don't know. It's nice to have a file card again, but it's kind of ridiculous. So these things would look great on the wall. The problem with that is I did pick up another one for that purpose. And so I do have it. This is my carded example of Gung Ho. I don't have a 3 3/4 inch version of Gung Ho on card, but even in the modern line, I only picked him up in box sets and stuff. And so I have a lot of Gung Ho figures, but most of them are out of the package. And this would be the only one that's going to stay in the package. Now, my cat, actually, I had these on the wall over here, and I guess I had them too low. She actually knocked him off the wall, and so it jacked up that. It's still intact, and I'll probably, before I put it back on the wall, reinforce that with a little bit of tape or something. I don't know. It depends on how I feel about it, because I know that once they put the tape on, it's got to stay. But that's a carded Gung Ho. So that would take us to the classified versions. And I did want to, like I said, I wanted to do a good do a good comparison when they came out. I like the gloves. There was a lot of things I liked about this figure. I was happy to get a Gung Ho. That early in the line, though, I was kind of surprised that they thought of Gung Ho. Now, this is the issue a lot of people have with this figure, is the mohawk and the mustache isn't all that great. So we will put his dome cover back on because that's the way we roll here. His weapons were okay. I mean, that was his grenade launcher there, and with his grenade launcher shells on the side here. I did like the fact that it was in black. I liked the camo. His vest was cool. I still like the Joe Pros. I don't know why a lot of people don't. My issue is the backpack. I mean, they just won't stay. So I maybe I'm putting them on wrong. I don't know. They're okay. I mean, they're not exactly Nerf guns, but they could be Nerf guns. I mean, they're really boxy and square, but I mean, this one is probably the best one. And it's also the hardest to get in his hand. And so, like I said, this backpack, I'm not a really good fan of this backpack because it doesn't work. And something that doesn't work really, I'm not fond of. Now, the gauntlet was a little weird, but I guess this is his shooting arm, so he wanted to make sure he had some armor protection for that arm, and I get it. Let's Gung Ho. But then they changed the tattoo, and this tattoo's okay. I like the style better than the original Marine Corps tattoo, although if you look back and you want your nostalgia, you want the Marine Corps tattoo on your Gung Ho, because how could you would have had to have the tattoo removed and then a new one put on. The likelihood that Gung Ho would do that, not very good. However, this retro Gung Ho, and they are the same figure roughly, just with different paint, and the tattoo on the retro version is a lot better. And actually, I prefer this tattoo even over the original. I just like the design and everything. But this guy here, the face sculpt, I don't know. It just it passes for Gung Ho, but this looks more like Gung Ho. So we'll take a better look at him. And they fixed the whole issue with the head. I got that dome cover on there pretty tight. It shows you the reason why I wear a hat under this light. It's because it gets pretty bright. But we're going to give him his dome cover back, so you can see Gung Ho a little better there. Now, I thought it was really interesting how the original one, if you put the grenade launcher over the shoulder, on the original one, it had the gun facing upside down. But on the new one, it has it facing up. And it works so much better this way. I like a lot of what they've done with this classified retro Gung Ho. I mean, this is a dynamic figure, but now people waited. Now they're every time I go to Walmart, I see like 5 and 6 Gung Hos on the shelf. And up to the point where I got him, I couldn't find this figure for the longest time. But then I found one, and I said, all right, I'm going to buy one, and then it's going to be on the shelf. And now it's all over the shelf. And for a moment, him and Shipwreck were in Walmart. I saw Shipwreck in a Walmart a few weeks back, even before a lot of other places had it, which was kind of cool. But I had already acquired a Shipwreck by that point, because he's in the lineup for GI Joe Goldbricks coming up here. But we're saving him for last at the end of the month. I do have him sitting here, but we'll check him out later. Now, the comparison I wanted to do between these two figures, though, as I was saying, is they are the same height. So they're the same figure, as you can see. However, like I said, the face sculpt and the head, it's a completely different head. And the vest, I like the way they did the vest. And the tattoo they made it larger so you can see it better. So we'll take a little bit better look at that if I could open up his vest a bit there, so you can get a better look at it. I don't know. I like the Marine Corps tattoo, but something about this tattoo is it works for me. They did a pretty good job on making the backpack at least resemble the vintage backpack. So can't complain. But that grenade launcher It's pretty much spot on, except for the way it goes over the shoulder. But I actually prefer the way it is on the retro. So I'm really happy with this figure. I'm glad it came with a battle stand. I think that all the classified figures should come with a battle stand. I don't know why they don't. I think Hasbro has missed the boat on that one. And of course, then he's got that little dinky pistol that it works for a sidearm, I guess. But for Gung Ho, all he needs is that combat knife and that grenade launcher, and Gung Ho's good to go. But there we are. So Gung Ho as a Joe, I've seen his file card many times where he is listed as E7. That's generally where they put him, which would be a gunnery sergeant of the Marine Corps because he's the GI Joe Marine. He was the first GI Joe Marine. I never really cared for Leatherneck. I know a lot of guys do, but Gung Ho was the Marine for me because that's who I when I started watching GI Joe, that was my GI Joe Marine. As far as the comics are concerned, he showed up in issue 11, which he's not on the cover for that one, but he was featured prominently in this one. It was oddly enough an Arctic setting, and he showed up like this in the Arctic, wearing just his vest. And it was like they made some comments about it, and I don't know if Larry Hama did that for humor effect or to show that Gung Ho was trying to be tough in front of his new Joe teammates. I don't know. I think they maybe had to do it for licensing reasons, because they even had Torpedo wearing his wetsuit all the time on land missions. It was weird. Very rarely did he not. This is the first cover I could find that had Gung Ho prominently featured on the cover. I like this cover with Roadblock, Tripwire, and Snake Eyes. I think it's one of the better ones, but a lot of those ones in the 40s had really good covers. I mean, my favorite character appeared in the 40s as well, not too long after that. Storylines for Gung Ho in the comics, I liked when he first showed up. That was an interesting storyline, but he was more probably featured in a mission with Stalker, Breaker, and Snake Eyes, and Quinn actually showed up in that adventure too. And Snake Eyes and Quinn went off on their own thing, but Gung Ho had to deal with a crocodile, and it was him and Stalker got bit on the leg in that one, and Gung Ho dealt with the crocodile. It was pretty cool. Well, Stalker actually dealt with the crocodile. It's been a long time since I read those. I love the Larry Hama run on GI Joe, but when you get into it, you read it and you read them all, and it's a lot to take in sometimes. Not that I don't mind. But as far as the comics is concerned, I know this is just supposed to be a great cover. When Sergeant Slaughter showed up, he actually knocked Zartan out, who was pretending to be Gung Ho at the time. That was kind of neat. Gung Ho wasn't really after that very prominent in the series of the cartoon. I mean, in the comic, but in the cartoon, he showed up right away in the Mass Device, Menace of the Mass Device, the very first G.I. Joe miniseries. He was in Revenge of Cobra. He's always had a lot of cool parts. Thinking back of some of the cooler Sunbow episodes with him, Battle for the Train of Gold. There's Primordial Plot, I think, where him, Scarlet, and Flint went to this island where Cobra was making dinosaurs. That was kind of a bizarre episode, but it was the 80s. They had to throw dinosaurs in there somewhere, I guess. But Gung Ho, I think one of my favorite moments with Gung Ho is in the cartoon is when he drove off in a vamp after being thrown off a horse, and he said there's more than one way to ride off into the sunset, and then he drove off, and Duke said happy trails, Gung Ho. That was a cool moment for Gung Ho. He had a lot though, as far as the cartoon is concerned. Gung Ho like I said, he was really featured very well in the cartoon. Uh, so there's that. As far as like I said, his rank, he started out as an E7, but a lot of his file cards also had him listed as an E9, which is either a master gunnery sergeant, well, master guns is what they call it, would be E8. But the E9, sergeant major or major gunnery sergeant or something, I can't remember exactly the rank for that, but they always listed him as sergeant major, and I know that rank does exist in the Marine Corps, but it's kind of weird, and that's it's wherever you want to put him. I always put him in there as the basically the highest enlisted rank that they can do, because they put Gung Ho in at least in the cartoon, they had him in charge of a lot of different units, and he never actually led a team as far as that's concerned. And I don't think in the comics or in the cartoon, but I do remember Cobra Soundwaves where he was kind of in charge, but Ace was the officer, and when Ace would give an order, he would follow it. So it's hard to say, because Ace, and Roadblock had been shot down, and they were trapped in the desert because suddenly Gung Ho and Roadblock were pilots. You know what? I have determined this is just from the hilt that the Sky Strikers. It wasn't that the Joes were all pilots; is that the Sky Strikers could be piloted by remote, and they'd have somebody back at base actually flying it for the Joe, and they'd run the guns. That's what it is. Yes. Now some of them could fly, but for the most part, I don't think they all knew how to fly jets. But that's okay. All right, so that leaves us talking about what's going on with Operation Dungeon Siege, and Gung Ho today is part 5 of that, and this will be this is his he starts off the GI Joe Goldbricks. So I hope you enjoy the video. Logan out. Greetings. I'm Christopher Logan Hilt, the GI Joe Gamer, and today we're talking Barbeque from the Hilt. Got some stuff to look at. I got a comic, got a bunch of figures, got boxes. Time to have some fun and check Barbeque out. So we'll start right away with the figure as we get into the second week of GI Joe Goldbricks and part 6 of Operation Dungeon Siege. Well, he is such an old figure. I remember buying him in the store. This is one of those I've had for a long time, and his knees are really weak, and I tried to straighten him up. I need to actually get some there's some tricks you can do to make strengthen the knees, but I didn't bother getting around to that today or this week. I did have to replace the O-ring, and I cleaned him up real good. And of course, it's summertime, so we're dealing with that. But I always loved the fact that he came with an axe. I never ever, pretended that was a gun. It was always his fire extinguisher. I love that, but it's always it's just one of those things where you always forget that Barbeque was an infantry trooper, but I didn't remember that in Operation Dungeon Siege. So he gets to show off his infantry skills in that. Now, before I get into the boxes and the classified, I don't have any carded examples of Barbeque to show off because I like all my Barbeque figures that I have. The next one I'm going to show you it was the Rise of Cobra Barbeque, and the reason why I'm showing this one off, I don't normally show these guys off in the Joe Takes here on Joe Take 16 today. So Joe Take 16, I'm showing you this one because this is my favorite Barbeque figure. I just love the coloration on this. The really light green color that they had on his shirt, and the black and the gray, and just the way everything. And he came with not just one. He came with 2 rifles. I wish he'd have come with a pistol, and I'm going to kill that fly. It is going to die, really. It's one of those days. But anyway, there he is. He's got 2 rifles. I actually didn't even try, but now that I dropped that one, I matched up this rifle pretty good in the video with the one he was using that I had him borrow from Snake Eyes. That's kind of the one. It looked a lot like that he was using in my video, so that's kind of cool. And they remolded the axe, but the black axe is really cool, I thought. And the gray and the black on the backpack, nice. And then he came with one of these big old spring action rocket launchers. I don't want to go digging for that, so I ain't firing that. Now, that takes us to the box art for the classified, and of course, it's a Cobra Island exclusive figure from Target, which now they're doing Tiger Force, which he was never in the Tiger Force, although I think he would look great as a Tiger Force figure. He was number 32 in the series. The box art is really cool, which I'll have you can check it out, a close-up of that near the end of the video like normal. But I had 2 classified Barbeque figures, and this one was 58 in the series. And the way they had the box art all together on the Marauders one, they call it Mad Marauders. It's still Slaughter's Marauders. They can call it what they want. Sergeant Slaughter's back in the line now. This might have been in production before that, but I hope they go back to calling it Slaughter's Marauders. But that right there, that's just a cool shot of Barbeque right there. I dig Barbeque a lot. The backs of these are okay. I mean, a very generic Cobra Island back on those ones, but they show the figure and then the figure and all the accessories. That's kind of cool. I've already shown this figure once on my channel, but I'll show it again because I didn't really care for the original Slaughter's Marauders version of Barbeque, but this one is just neat. It kind of harkens back to the black and the gray. I don't know. I like these two figures. They're pretty cool. It's hard not to like the original orange, crimson orange red. Uh, it's kind of a really dark orange. I really liked it, and they really brought that out in the classified version. That's the way they both of them. They came with the same accessories, but that axe, the two-headed axe that they had come with him, where he could put it in both hands like this. I got it set up in this one, and then for some reason on the original one, on the vintage barbecue, you could peg the fire extinguisher gun to his leg if my big old fingers can get it on there. But yeah, I'm a little. You can say you can peg it right on his leg, and for some reason, instead of making a peg to do that with the modern figures, they put some kind of, I don't know, a pouch or a pocket there. But they hit back on it with the classified and actually gave it a holster, which I thought was pretty cool. And I'm showing on this one that him holding it in his hand, so you can see that is not a pouch. It's a holster, like more close to the vintage. So they got it right on these newer barbecues, the classified series. Right down to these knee pads, which the original he didn't have knee pads, but they pretty much got it, nailed everything, and then they came with his normal axe. I did like the little studded grip on the on the handle of that axe. It's a really cool axe. I mean, barbecue. Most people underestimate barbecue and see him just as a firefighter and a rescue trooper. And yeah, that's his primary function, but he is also an infantry trooper, which is often forgotten. But I did not forget. So now I couldn't find a lot of examples, any examples actually, of him being on the cover. But one of my favorite issues of the old Marvel run from Larry Hama in the comics was issue 130. And this cover is awesome, but it doesn't show barbecue on the cover. However, Cobra invades the pit in this issue in Utah. And, maybe I'm biased because I live in Utah, but there's a scene where they send the bats down into the pit, and they've got Barbecue and Airtight working together in this one. And I know they had Barbecue in his Eco Warriors outfit, although they drew it a lot. They made it look a lot better in the comic. That's where they're setting up for the bats to come into the pit. But when the bats actually do come down to the pit, it's Barbecue and Airtight, man. They're the ones who are the first line of defense. And they give the bats what for. There's a good shot of Barbecue right there, where he's just laying into the bats with a flamethrower. Mister, I'm a firefighter, starting fires, but they fought the bats, just the two of them for a long time until the rest of the Joes could get set up, and so that's one of my favorite Barbecue appearances. Naturally, he's got my favorite character with him there too. So I wish they had a Marvel run cover with Barbecue, but I couldn't find one. Now they did have Barbecue on the cover of some of the Action Force stuff from Great Britain, but I don't have any of those, unfortunately. Those aren't easy to come by. So that takes us to Barbecue as a Joe, and where I put him in the rankings now. In the comic books, he's a specialist. I mean, without a doubt, that's what he does, and his specialty is firefighting, and as you can see, starting fires. In some instances, he knows how to start them and put them out. But he's also an infantry trooper. He fights right there with the rest of the Joes, and I think he's often overlooked as a character, but I played with this one a lot, this figure, and I loved it so much that I've talked about on my channel before about making my own superheroes, my own comic books, and he was probably featured in my playtime when I played my own superheroes. He doubled as my Crimson Fireball, but that, like I said, he's a E4 specialist now, and in my continuity, he got finally promoted to a sergeant. But Joes, once they become Joes, they don't really aspire to rank up anymore. I'm sure they get pay raises and stuff every year, but like any other soldier. But and they don't do it for the money. We know that about GI Joe. So Barbeque in the comics, he first appeared like issue. It was kind of odd. He was like issue. It's in the 40s somewhere, and it was on the battle platform, the tactical battle platform at Shipwreck. Was the commander of the battle platform of that one, and he all showed up, and they were kind of making fun of him, but he gave as good as he got in that too. So as far as the cartoon, he was in quite a few episodes that I really liked. He was let me see, he was in The Viper is Coming, of course. That's got to be my favorite cartoon episode with him. There was another one where Wild Bill was kind of the leader, and The Greenhouse Effect, that was the name of the episode. And he wasn't really the main character in that, but he was prominently featured throughout it. And it was kind of weird because Airtight showed up in that one too, and then near the end, that was it. It was no more Barbeque. It was all Airtight. But no, throughout the whole episode, he was in that right up till near the end. Get these cheaters off. I don't need them anymore, but I only need them to read. That would be the comics and the Sunbow cartoon. So that takes us to my continuity and my headcanon with Operation Dungeon Siege, and I got that video. I'm going to show that here. It was on Fridays from the Hilt, episode number 10. So you want to check that out. It's in both. So if you're watching this, you won't need to watch that. So that's Barbeque from the Hilt. I hope you enjoy the video, and Logan out. Greetings. I'm Christopher Logan Hill, GI Joe Gamer. And today on Joe Takes 17, we're going to take a look at Bazooka from the Hill. Let's get this glare off my hand a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dive into the figure. Now, I do not have the original vintage Bazooka. I used to. The reason why I don't is because when I picked up the Tiger Force Bazooka in 1988, I parted him out, which is something I regret now. But at the time, I thought that the Tiger Force Bazooka was a much nicer looking bazooka. I never really cared for him walking into battle with a big red T-shirt. However, that being said, in some ways, that's a more iconic look for Bazooka. But coincidentally enough, the only classified figure I have is the Tiger Force version as well. Now, these were his original accessories for excuse me, for this Bazooka, but I actually prefer the ones that came with the original Bazooka. And here we go. He just, to me, with the lighter green backpack and the lighter green helmet, he looks a lot better. But that could just be me, and I'm definitely dealing with this morning. Sorry. Now, as far as carded figures, I do have a modern Bazooka with the iconic look, so we can check that out here in a little bit. And of course, on the back, we've got the file card, and you can pause that and look at it if you like. Now, the backpack with the missiles on that turned out to be pretty cool. I mean, they did a decent enough job. Now, of course, on the classified figure, they went a step further and actually made it even better. But I was looking for the part on Bazooka's missile launcher, and it happens to be in the box. I'm glad I saw that. But here's the box art. Now, I definitely have a better look at this artwork later on in the video. As a close-up, he's number 54 in the series. And I'm going to take that little part out and put it right back on the Bazooka today. Well, his missile launcher. It's hard not to call it a Bazooka because he is a Bazooka. His name is Bazooka. I know. And I'm sure that that's a callback to the old Bazooka Joe gun that used to come with these little, it's like candy for kids, but it had a little gum that came with it, and little comic strips that it was wrapped in. It was kind of neat. And I was looking all over for this, and it had stayed in the box. I find that to be hilarious. So I will put that back on his missile launcher, which meant that it wasn't featured properly in the video that I'll be on Operation WC's Part 7. But here's the classified Bazooka. Now, compared to the original vintage Tiger Force helmet, the colors on this Tiger Force Bazooka are way better. Now, they went with a darker green, but I don't know what they were thinking with this. A lot of these accessories that they came out with, the Tiger Force and other repaints of the original Joes in the vintage series were, I don't know, they were just weird colors. And so I got my missile launcher complete on Bazooka there, and I think he looks pretty cool. And I've got the fourth missile in the other room where we've been taking the pictures for Operation Dungeon Siege. So he's the third GI Joe Goldbrick. Now we got one more, and I'm kind of holding that off for a surprise. Now, as far as the Marvel comic for Bazooka, I couldn't find any cover appearances. I mean, there may have been one, but he didn't really stand out a lot in the comics. He actually stood out more in the cartoon. However, in this was his first appearance in issue 44. He shows up in the Awe Striker right there next to Crankcase, and also featured as a first appearance. This issue was Heavy Metal in the Mauler and Airtight, my favorite character. So it's kind of cool to look at this. I've been kind of saving it for the right moment, and I'm feeling Bazooka is that moment. Now, Lady J had seniority, so that's why she was in charge here. Bazooka actually outranks everybody here as far as actual pay grade. But Lady J, they always portrayed her as having a higher rank than she actually did. And I think it might have been because of her specialty, but also she had seniority and she was just kind of running them through the course. I think one of my favorite parts in this comic book with Bazooka, or Dr. Mindbender also, that was his first appearance in this, but they called him Dr. Brainwave. There was a scene, they had got captured, they had gotten captured by Cobra in this, of course, and were Dr. Mindbender was testing out bats and his plant spores, which the bats seemed successful, but not so much the plant spores, which I don't think they ever used again. But this scene here where Bazooka lobs his empty missile launcher at, let me see if I can do this correctly. Nope, I went the wrong way. So he lobs the missile launcher at the bat and takes his head off. I thought that was pretty cool. And so when I was doing my Operation Dungeon Siege with Bazooka, I definitely wanted to have him going up against the bats. So I hope you guys enjoy that video. I love this cover too. It's just with the issue before, issue 43, but 44, that's where Bazooka first appeared in the comics. I'm just going to slide. I'll just leave it out here so you can check it out if you want to. Now, for some reason, I didn't move the camera right so you could take a look at the comics today. I figured you'd seen this one already, issue number 1. So that takes us to the cartoon, the Sunbow cartoon. He was, as far as I know, he wasn't in the Deke series. He was in a few of the other later animated movies, but just minor roles. In the Deke series, he first appeared in the Pyramid of Darkness, and it's hard to not talk about the Sunbow cartoon and not talk about Bazooka and Alpine. They were not just best friends, but they were always paired up together. Generally, with Alpine leading, or at least taking charge, I think Bazooka is more of the strong, silent type in a lot of ways. His file card, however, calls him a decisive and fast thinker, which they sure didn't portray him in the cartoon as a decisive and fast thinker. But as a sergeant, I place it. He has that rank. So in my head canon, he is a squad leader. He's not necessarily a major unit leader or a team leader, but a fire team, maybe a smaller fire team as a squad leader. So that's where I'm at with Bazooka. As far as the cartoon, excuse me, I'm having a rough time with my asthma today. Sorry, but in the cartoon, like I say, he was in Pyramid of Darkness, which his appearance was okay. He stood out in a lot of the episodes. I think predominantly he had the episode Bazooka Saw a Sea Serpent, which was pretty cool. Cobra had designed this massive sea serpent that they had kidnapped a scientist, and he got swallowed by his own creation and was inside the sea serpent. But Bazooka had seen it while him, Alpine, and Cutter were camped out on a beach for the night, and but nobody believed him that he saw a sea serpent. But they believed him as soon as it attacked the seaboards and went out of control. And that was kind of a fun episode, and that was definitely a standout for Bazooka. But I think the one that stands out for me the most is the one where Wild Bill led a mission with Lady J to a cattle ranch, but at the beginning of that, they were trying to remember the name of that episode off the top of my head. I can't remember it this morning, but Bazooka was at the beginning of that with Alpine and Snake Eyes, ironically enough, and whenever they needed a door, Bazooka would blow out a wall and go door. It was kind of funny. They gave him kind of a big lug, stupid voice in the cartoon, and that's kind of sad because it doesn't really reflect what's on his file card, which I will have near the end of the video. You'll be able to check that out, and that kind of sums up Bazooka. In my head canon, like I said, he's a squad leader, and his teammates are Airtight, Dusty, and Barbeque. Their teams, their fire team is often paired up in different areas. As you can see in Operation Dungeon Siege, they actually got they went from Alpha Squad to Fire Team Alpha to Fire Team Bravo, and it just sometimes works out that way in the field. And I thought it was neat to shuffle things around, and I had a lot of things going as far as ranks and who was in charge, and behind the scenes in that, the real leaders of the entire operation were Falcon, Stalker, and Beachhead. With Stalker and Beachhead being the Alpha team leader, Stalker, and Bravo team leader, Beachhead. So, and Bazooka was just the squad leader of what they refer to as Alpha 1, because each of the squads has 2 fire teams, and Beachhead's particular fire team that he was with, he had deployed most of them to the south for whatever reasons. Storyline wise, I don't want to spoil it because that's kind of coming up in the last part of Operation Dungeon Siege, but he still had Gung Ho with him, and so him and Gung Ho, who was kind of instrumental in this entire Operation Dungeon Siege. He started off with GI Joe Goldbricks and has been a prominent character in this storyline. Him, Bazooka, and Barbeque. Now, of course, Dusty and Beachhead are also in it, but for the purposes of GI Joe Goldbricks, we featured because I've already done a Dusty. My take on Dusty, and Joe takes 7, I think. So he was one of the first ones I did. So check that out if you want. And I did Beachhead as number 10, and he kind of kicked off Cobra Convergence. He had the intro for Operation Dungeon Siege. So everybody in GI Joe Goldbricks thus far has had their own Joe Takes episode, but I'm going to have a few more characters in the finale, so hope you're looking forward to that. I know we're looking forward to filming it. I've got a lot of big ideas, but we'll see if we can translate those into photographs, and we're still having a lot of fun with it. So as far as Bazooka is concerned, he's he's a fire team leader, a squad leader in my head canon, and in the comic books, like I said, I don't remember seeing him all that often. I mean, he was there and he was on missions and stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, I think Larry Hama thought of him as maybe a secondary character that kind of tried to replace Zap. But I think Larry Hama liked Zap better. And I kind of put Bazooka and Zap in the same grade. I mean, they're 2 completely different characters, and I like them for different reasons. But we'll take a last look at my original vintage Tiger Force Bazooka with my original accessories from the 1985 Bazooka, and then the classified with that missile launcher. I do like the fact that you can slide this over, but it comes off so easy and then you could put the missile in there. I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought I would give it a mention before I finish the video here. So I hope you enjoy my take on Bazooka. And with that all being said, Logan out. Greetings, I'm Christopher Logan Hill, GI Joe Gamer, and welcome to Joe Takes 18. Today we're talking Shipwreck from the Hilt. It's been a long time in coming for me. Definitely one of my favorite characters, and actually the first GI Joe action figure I ever purchased, and I still have him, along with what's left of my Polly. The talent broke years ago. Sorry. Here we go. And he has a pistol, but the little connector hook, Polly, of course, little connector hook naturally broke off there. Surprisingly, though, he's in really good shape. He still has the little hook on his belt. I lost the hook in line that he had years ago, but I mean, one of his knees is loose, but the other one is in really good shape. But for as old as this figure is, purchased in 1985, I think he's in really good shape. Now, I think the reason for that is because in 1994, they brought out another Shipwreck figure for the vintage line. Now, he came with some accessories. He came with this sniper rifle, and you might think that's a little odd for Shipwreck. And this big old pistol, that is just a black version of the pistol that came with Shockwave. I think the rifle was, I'd like to say bullhorn, but bullhorns came apart, so I'm not really sure about that. He also came with a hit and run gun in this version of Shipwreck, he was actually a Navy SEAL. And I don't know, that appealed to me in 94, and it was one of the few 94 figures I bought, and I still have him. And of course, there was a spoof action figure show where they used this figure and called him Stinky Diver, but that's Shipwreck as far as I'm concerned. Now, I do have a carded example of Shipwreck from the 25th anniversary line. You can take a decent look at that and see we got the silver border. It was in the second wave that came out for the 25th anniversary line, as you can see there. And this file card, get a decent look at that. Okay. Definitely really cool. Took me a while to acquire this one. Wasn't one I was able to buy extra. I bought it when it originally came out, so I have one not carded. But for the most part, I knew I had to acquire a carded Shipwreck because he is definitely one of my favorite figures. Now, that takes us to the classified figure in the box art. And in the classified series, he's number 70. Box art is, it's okay. I've seen better. I know a lot of people like this box art, but it's not really box art. Well, this part here is. But this over here, this is a photograph of the actual action figure. And you got that on the back. So to me, it's like, why don't you have artwork here? It bugs me a little bit that they did that. I do like the fact that with these packs, though, when you can store the figure in this box, and it comes with a nice little prop there. But the artwork on the inside is the same art that's on the cover, but in black and white. Decent. I like it. And then it comes with a foot locker for Shipwreck. Let's see if we get this right today. It is number 70. So I like part of the new box art and packaging, and parts of it I don't like. But this one and Rock and Roll are the only ones in this wave so far that I have. I want to get the other ones, but I just have to wait till I can. But that takes us to the actual figure, the classified figure. Now, my biggest issue with this figure is that his holes in his feet for the foot pegs will not fit any foot peg I have. Not a single one. I don't know why. They're just too small. So Shipwreck don't like battle stands. So maybe if they do a newer version of him or a retro, they'll make it so he fits on the foot pegs, because the retro ones at least come with battle stands like Gung Ho and Destro and Baroness and Lady J that I have that's out. I know they've got a Snake Eyes and a Crimson Guard and a Zartan and a Storm Shadow, but I don't have those yet. I haven't seen those in the stores. I've seen them online, of course, but I haven't been able to pick those up yet. Now, I do like the fact that I want to take this off here real quick so you can take a look at the Polly figure that they had that came with him. I was a little disappointed that they didn't have the variation where you could spread his wings out like they did with Freedom. But I did like the fact that he actually sticks to the figure on either his rope or his wrist via this peg that is a peg leg for Polly. I thought that was interesting, and that he has one tail and foot. I thought it was really cool that they did that, but it's like, well, okay, wow, you disfigured Polly, but it worked for the action figure, so that's really cool. Now, Shipwreck has the original tattoo on his right arm with the anchor, and then he's got a new tattoo on his left arm, which I believe is a shark, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know, but he does have his Chief Petty Officer chevron on the shoulder, so that's really cool. And then on this side, he's got that other insignia, which is really neat. Now there is a variation of this, and I'll show you with the box art because I like the way it looks, but I prefer his sailor's hat. He actually does have the replaceable wig, basically, one with a hat and one with just hair, and that's kind of cool. And he looks okay that way, but I prefer the traditional look. He comes with a hook. I wish that they would had a line that he came with separate that was just like this, because I like the fact that this doesn't come apart so that it displays really well. But I wish that it came with a separate one. Now he came with a remake of that pistol with the little holder for the hand. I don't know why I can't think of the name of that right now, but the little loop to put around his wrist. And he came with another little sidearm pistol, which is okay. But I have to say, this is a really great figure. I have no complaints. I mean, when he stands next to Gung Ho, however, they made Gung Ho really big. So if you put them right next to each other, Shipwreck is probably about maybe 4 inches shorter than Gung Ho. That may be correct. In the animated series, I always made them about the same height, but you can't really tell because they made them all pretty much the same size in the animated series. So I did like that that they made them different like that. But there's that Shipwreck. So now, as far as the Sunbow TV series, I really enjoyed that. Shipwreck was in a number of episodes, starting with the Revenge of Cobra, where he showed up when Flint and Mutt were in the desert in Cobra outfits. It was kind of neat that way. The Shipwreck pretty much rescued them if they would pay his fee, but he ended up joining the Joes, and I doubt he ever got paid for that. But it was a cartoon, so who knows? And in the Pyramid of Darkness, he was teamed up with Snake. It was Snake Eyes, and that was pretty cool. And he had a number of really, really good episodes. Memories of Mara was great. And the season finale for the first season was that two-parter, There's No Place Like Springfield. One of the best episodes they ever made for GI Joe. But I think my favorite one was Once Upon a Joe, where he was telling some little kids a story, and he was basically, it was a fairy tale storyline in the background, and near the end he had Princess J, Princess Scarlet, and Princess Covergirl. It was kind of neat. And they literally had a MacGuffin device in that they were going after. That's what they actually called the device, where they didn't know what it did. It was kind of fun. Good stuff for the cartoon. As far as the later ones, they had been quite a few of those too. And Shipwreck has always been a prominently featured character. Now, I know he first appeared in the Marvel Comics, and when he first showed up, it was with the battle platform, and he was in command of that. And I've talked about that issue before. Really cool stuff. One of my favorite issues, actually, with him and Barbeque and all those others on the battle platform. But I did manage to find a cover with him where him and Copperhead in this issue fight it out. Really cool. And Paulie's in this one. And this one was decent. Then they started featuring him in the IDW, and they had him on a few covers of that. But I got the trades, and he's not on any of the trade paperbacks. So I don't know what to say about that. But in the comics, Shipwreck was their battle platform captain. I mean, he wasn't a captain, but he was he was master of the boat, is what they probably would have termed that as the naval terminology for it. Other than that, in the comics, they really didn't have him in it a lot in the old Marvel run. Like I said, they had him more prominently in the IDW a bit, and I like that, where Larry Hama started using Shipwreck as one of the more prominent characters again. Well, not again for Larry Hama, but again for us. But he was a chief petty officer, which makes him E7 in rank, and I do have an action figure where he was promoted to Master Chief Petty Officer, which would be E8, and that was pretty cool. I like that. So it showed a little bit of progression for Shipwreck, and even in the 25th anniversary line, that they had one where he was E8, and I like I said, I like that. In my head canon, he's like I said, he's there whenever they're on a boat or anything. He's the master of the boat. In my Operation Dungeon Siege, he's actually a squad leader. He's Bravo 1's leader. He's Bravo 2-1. And so I always liked him as a leader. I know they had an episode in the second season where he was made a colonel with Lifeline and Dial Tone, and he was made out to be a total buffoon as a leader. But yet in Pyramid of Darkness, he took over as a leader and led the Joes to victory near the end of that. So it's hard to say why they wouldn't see Shipwreck as a leader. I know Hawk in that animated episode, the most dangerous thing in the world is what it was called, and Shipwreck. Hawk said he didn't have the ability or the desire to be a leader. I don't agree with that sentiment. I think Shipwreck has the ability. He may lack the desire, but he will lead. And if put in a leadership role, he leads very well in almost every instance that I've seen anyway. Now, I know they get a little silly with him in the cartoon, but I don't see Shipwreck as a silly character. He is one of my favorites. He's in my top 10. And he was the first Joe I ever got. So to me, he has a special place in my heart because of that. And I'll always have fond memories of Shipwreck, and I'm happy to share that with you. So we'll take one last look at the vintage with Polly. I like I said, I really love this figure, and I do like the fact that they made him a Navy SEAL, and I do like this figure. But I think they really outdid themselves on. We'll put Polly on his wrist in this time around. Oh, I've got the wrong Polly. I was looking at the wrong Polly with the other Shipwreck, the little Shipwreck. They aren't much different in size, really. But I guess they figured if they made Polly the actual size of a parrot, that would actually be cool. And for some reason, it doesn't want to peg in there. I've been pegging it on the rope for so long. I don't know. I don't want to force it, and it's not going in there properly. So we'll put it back on the rope, see how it seems to peg in there really good. So one last look at Shipwreck. So, like I said, in my headcanon, he's a squad leader, and he's featured in the finale of Operation Dungeon Siege, and that will be here in this video right coming up here. So I hope you enjoyed this video and my take on Shipwreck, and I hope you enjoy the Operation Dungeon Siege finale. Next week we got Destro coming up, so that should be pretty fun. And with that all being said, Logan out.
Hit to Bravo Team 3. Acknowledge Sierra Whiskey.
Bravo 21 here.
Bravo leader missed his last 2 radio checks. All perimeter missions are secure, and Lieutenant Falcon has designated your squad as the extraction team.
Not like Beachhead to miss a check-in.
No, indeed. The captain wants a word.
I got my ears on. Shipwreck, this is command. We sent Bravo leader with a fire team to investigate the location designated as the dungeon. His last transmission had them entering an underground bunker. Proceed to location and bring our boys home. Flint out. 10-4, sir. Bravo 1 is on it.
Mainframe has uploaded the coordinates onto the Little Orca's Navcom Bravo 2-1. That sector is the only remaining active fire zone, so happy hunting.
Affirmative, Breaker. Blackjack out. Okay, Bravo 1, let's go save the boss of those Alpha 1 gold bricks.
Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I'll fight these lights I ride to help me through the night. Land of illusion, losing my fuse, confused by confusion, causing contusions, constantly choosing losers. True to the rules, never choose the future. Who's gonna be the next to try? Thinking that you're gonna cut me down to size. Looking when you gotta look into my eyes. Bye-bye. You ain't even got another line to write. Evacuate my sight. I hold the flame that melts the chain. Oh no, let's say my name. Now flow. It begins to rain. I better look to the hearts and minds of those who want to steal your life with their lies, break your pride, making you a victim for the devil side. Welcome to the game. It's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I fight these lights I ride to help me through the night. Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I fight these lights I ride to help me through the night.
I swipe away my pains. If I never make a move, then the game will never change. It's time to hit the road. From city to city we go. We ready to put on a show and spread our message across the globe. As freedom and liberty slowly erode, as tyranny starting to grow. You can stand up and face it or lie down and take it, but make it your duty to know. Never forget we're the ones in control. Can take what they offer, but me, oh, I'm on my eyes on my price, on my sights, on my goals. It's time that we rise and take over the throne.
Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I fight these lights I ride to help me.
Greetings, I'm Christopher Logan Hill, the GI Joe Gamer. Back, Joe fans, for another Joe Takes. This will be number 19. And today we're talking about Destro from the Hilt. Now, this is a video I've wanted to make for a while. What's held me back was, Cobra Convergence for a bit, and then my GI Joe Goldbricks. So he's definitely the first Cobra the Enemy, or just the Enemy figure or character that I want to take a look at and give you my take on. Now, when I was going through my figures, I realized that my vintage figures were lacking on Destro. I had the version 1 and 2 Destro at one point, but I think I had a situation where I got the 1993 Destro, and I said to myself, hey, I got a new Destro. I don't need those, because for some reason, I don't have either the 1983 or 1988 Destro. And so there's my 93 Destro, and he came with this gun. He also came with this little device that shot things out. Like they did a lot of that weird stuff in the 90s. And I do have that somewhere, but it's a good day in the morning for asthma, but sorry about that. I do like that figure. It's okay. It wasn't as good as the 83 or 80 or 88 figure. And for the life of me, I don't know why I ever what I ever did with my 83 figure, but I know that I took apart my 88 figure and I used him for parts. And at that time, as a young guy, and I was just starting in my 20s at that point, I did not like the gold head Destro. I don't know why. I do now. I have a much better appreciation for it. So there were 4 Destros in the vintage line, and I still have 2 of them. At one time, I had all of them. So here's the other one. This is the only Star Brigade figure I have. I did not like that line. I don't know if I have the missile for that. I've got a ton of them. I'm sure I could probably find one that fits in there. I might even be able to find the one that went with him, because my brother gave me this figure. And so he came with one of the Uzis that Snake Eyes came with in, I think, the 89 version of Snake Eyes. And he also came with this submachine gun pistol that came with Voltar, and it's got this really, really big barrel on it. So it's not really a pistol, but it's a really mini submachine gun. That's why they call it a submachine gun. But yeah, it was okay. What I did like about this figure was the helmet would turn around, so you'd have like a sun shield, and the helmet just pops off, and he has the same head as the 93 Destro. So they were a little consistent, but they were trying to reuse parts and whatever and whatnot. But I do have a stand-in for my 1988 and 83 Destros. So we'll look at the 88 one first. This is my modern version of Destro. Now, I have quite a few of these, and I don't know why I managed to acquire more than my fair share of this particular type of Destro. Now, I do have some from the modern line, some modern examples of this figure, but I got this one out of a pack. It was one of the 5 packs for Cobra, and this was, to me, the best version of Destro that they had ever put out. And so I'm happy with this one, and I'm glad I have this one. And I do at some point want to reacquire the 83 and 88 versions of Destro, because I have the Destro's Despoiler that he came with in 1988. So I know I had him at some point, and I know I used to play with him. So that's where we're at on that now. So that takes us to my carded examples, and so I've got one of these on card. I actually never took this guy out of the package, nor did I ever buy one in the package like this, because I had several examples of this exact same figure that came with box sets. This is the one that came with the original modern 25th anniversary set for Cobra. I've compared them. It's the exact same figure. So I was like, what's the point of getting a second one? And I picked this up late in the line, and that's why it doesn't have the 25th anniversary symbol on it. But that's one of my carded examples of Destro. I actually have a few. Now, they came out with one in the retro line, and it's okay. I mean, I think the head has a little bit to be desired. And, I'm sorry, I forgot to let you go ahead and check out the back and maybe get a better look at that file card. If my hands would stop shaking today, it's just one of those days with my asthma that's really bugging me. But, I've been up for a while, and I'm seems like it takes longer to get ready for these videos than it does to make them. But it's a lot of fun. I dig Destro. He's a cool character and a great addition to the GI Joe line. I'll get into his character here in a bit, but and then I picked up this one, and I definitely have one of these out of the package. I've got actually more than one of these, but he's a cool figure. Like I said, I never was super fond of the gold head. I'm not, I don't hate it. In fact, as I grew older, I definitely got a better appreciation for it. But I found one with the 25th anniversary still in the stores. So I made sure I picked it up, because I was trying to get at one point, let me get my big old fingers out of the way. But at one point, I was trying to get Every one of them that I had out of the package, in the package. So I've got about 65 of them, I think, like this. Yeah, 63. Because then I got a couple of Toys R Us exclusives still in the package. But that is my carded examples of Destro. Now I'm going to swap them out for some of these other things that I have. I got, of course, when I got to the classified line, so we're going to take a look at the boxes. Number 3 in the series was Destro, and now this art is pretty good. I mean, it looks pretty good. Somebody did one up that I found with a white background instead of a red. Now I actually kind of like that better. That's why I used it as my thumbnail, as part of my thumbnail. And for the thumbnail for the promo on Joe Takes 19, which will be at the end of this video. I'm getting it down to a pretty decent methodology of how I do these videos. Of course, it had the regular thingy on the back, and then they brought out the 15 figure in the line. This is the only one they did in gold, and I thought it was cool because this was the Prophet Director Destro. I know that it was the homage to the Pimp Daddy Destro, which for some reason, we can't call it that, can we? But that's what everybody calls it. So I do have the retro Destro as well. So we'll be taking a look at those, and I want to kind of compare them. But they attempted to put out a file card on these giant jumbo cards. But this right here, I mean, look, what is this? I mean, we get nothing. Again, it's just like with the retro line, and that's just what they did with with the smaller ones, even with this guy here. I mean, the file card it's not really a file card. It was an attempt, and it's a nice idea, and it looks nice, and so on the wall it looks good. So I haven't actually had the opportunity. I've got one in the package still that I haven't hung up yet. I did have it on the wall for a little while over here behind me, but my cat got into it, so it's got a little bit of damage to it. And what you gotta do? And when you have pets, you gotta put up with some weird stuff sometimes with pets. So, well, that takes us to the actual classified figures, which is what I figure everybody is here to check out. At least that's what I like to check out every time I rewatch my videos. And I know everybody digs the figures, but I like to also give my 2 cents on the figure. I did like this classified Destro, and it is one of the figures in the classified line that got me to collect the line as an actual collection instead of these older figures don't really like to go on battle stands very well. But get out of here. More of those. But anyway, Destro I thought they put him together really well. Now I think that this is the repaint that they had come out later. I bought him online, so I really don't know, because they were saying something about him having a circle on his head originally, and I'm like, I never had that. So I'm guessing mine's the repaint, and I'm fine with that because it turned out to be the better figure. But then they brought this bad boy out, Mr. Prophet Director Destro, and I like this figure. I know it's a little over the top and silly, and it doesn't really seem like Destro. Now, I had some pics, and I've included them in a few videos where the Baroness is actually wearing this leopard skin cloak, and it actually fits her better as far as I'm concerned. Then he has the little shades, and I kind of like the shades because you can just pop them up, and you can see they actually fit on his head pretty well and don't come off. If I shook it around a little bit, it probably would, but it stays on fairly well. So I have no issues with the new Destro figures. Now, when they came out with the retro figure, I really like the retro figure. To me, it's the best classified Destro they've actually put out, and I do appreciate the fact that they included a battle stand that's actually for the figure. Which is nice, because these ones for some reason work really well, and They're made for them, so that's why they should. And the only issue I have with this Destro is the briefcase. I love the red symbol on the Cobra briefcase, on the Cobra symbol right there. I don't know why they just they left it black. They didn't paint it. I mean, silver would have been nice. That's what I think. But they didn't paint the one on the Prophet Director one either. But I don't know what color they would have gone with on this gold to make it look good. Red, maybe, but the red and gold maybe would have clashed. I don't know. Now, they had him come. These are all the same figure, just repainted. So I was going to really look at the one I like the most. So he comes with a little sidearm pistol, standard. But then, they redid his laser pistol or his gun. And it's got to be a gun, otherwise he wouldn't have put a sight on it. I mean, yeah, what's the point of a laser sight with a laser gun? I mean, wouldn't it pretty much be the same thing? You could target with the laser and then fire it at the same time. I never saw the issue of a laser pistol with a sight, but it's funny how a lot of them come with them. And I get the whole monocular scope on a gun. And for a specialist in laser weapons like flash or sci-fi, that'd be cool. They had another one that came out that was a laser trooper in the 2000s. And for the life of me, I have him, but I can't remember his name at the moment. But this is Destro's video, so we'll get into that another day when if they ever bring out flash or sci-fi in the classified line, I'll probably talk about it then. But I really like this gun, their updated version of his pistol. Now, the Prophet Director one didn't come with that pistol. He just came with the sidearm, and it's gold. And I don't have a problem with that. But the original one came with the red paint on the pistol, and I like that. I do, but for some reason, for me, just the standard black pistol works better. I don't know why. For me, I prefer it. I'm not sure whether I like the eyebrows painted on that figure. I don't know if you can see that, but I do like the way they did his eyes in black. That was kind of cool. So you can see his eyes there, and I like that. The other one was just all silver, and I don't have a problem with that either. And like I said, the gold head's pretty cool, and not necessarily with the Prophet Director Destro, but I did come to appreciate it more as I got older with the gold head, especially going back and rereading some of the comics from Larry Hama, and why Destro actually went that route and everything. I did like the briefcase, and inside the briefcase there's money and a laptop, and I want to open one up and take a look. Now, I did use this in my recent Operation Joe Takes series, and then I have put it all together into one video. And if I can ever get this open, I am never good with this kind of stuff, and I don't know which way there we go. Like I said, it's got money at the top, and then it's got like a laptop, and so maybe I can get some of this light in here without having it be a glare. But yeah, it even says Mars in there, and I thought they did a good job with this briefcase. Now, getting it back in here while I'm still doing a video, that will be the trick. Okay, yeah, I'm not even going to bother. I'll just set it over here, and I'll put these back so that I can start talking about the comic. Now, to me, Larry Hama, he's the godfather of GI Joe, and I totally agree with that. In the comics, Destro, I mean, yeah, he's their weapons supplier, but his main original function was to be Cobra Commander's counter to Hawk. He was going to be Cobra Commander's field commander, and he saw himself as the counter to General Flag and not Hawk, because, well, he was the overall leader of Cobra, and Flag was the overall leader of GI Joe at the time. And so Cobra Commander needed a counter to Hawk because Hawk, it was an exceptional field commander. No matter what your opinion on Hawk is, the truth is he led the Joes really well, and so he wanted a counter, and so he got a weapons supplier and a general in Destro. Now, I know it's kind of difficult to see the fathom the hierarchy of Cobra, but originally it was Cobra Commander and the Baroness, and when Destro was brought into the mix, Baroness kind of would step back and let the two of them do their thing. And there was a big bit where at first Cobra Commander hired on Major Bludd to try to kill Destro. And I think Cobra Commander eventually got to the point where he knew that Destro was best where he was, running Mars and selling him weapons. Not necessarily being his field leader, but that is originally what he hired Destro to do, was lead his troops into battle. Now, I really love what Larry Hama has done with Destro in the comic book, and reading the comics, you can actually argue that Destro is one of the main bad guy characters in the entire series, more so than Cobra Commander or the Baroness or any other enemy character in the series. Larry Hama really put a lot of depth into Destro. I mean, there's a cover with Destro with Flint and Lady J, where they went in and took his castle back from an imposter that turned out to be Major Bludd. That was a great comic book, especially with the fact that we have Lady J and Destro in the comic together, and with the cartoon. And I don't know if Larry Hama had that in his head, but I kind of keep that, where Lady J and Destro have familial ties in their ancestry, and that's kind of cool. It was neat to have Lady J in that comic with Destro, and they interacted really well. And Destro seemed to have a lot of respect for Flint. You know, you may not see eye to eye all the time, but Destro respected and appreciated what the Joes did for what their purpose was. He didn't agree with them, and he was decidedly their enemy on most occasions. But Destro had honor. Of all the Cobra baddies in the comics, Destro had honor. My favorite cover, not necessarily my favorite issue, but my favorite cover is this one right here, where Destro is squared off against Storm Shadow. Knowing full well the danger, Destro was that confident in his ability to shoot Storm Shadow. Didn't work out that way for him, but I think Destro was also a pretty good judge of character, and he knew that Storm Shadow wasn't going to kill him. So he wasn't going to back down, because Destro, he doesn't back down. Now he will withdraw strategically because he's a genius. He's a genius at making weapons. He's a genius strategist. I mean, that's why Cobra Commander hired him in the first place. Now, as the series went on, it seemed like his pursuit changed from trying to figure out what he wanted in Cobra to he went through this phase after him and Cobra Commander got trapped in the pit, and they both escaped together, and they had that unmasking issue. And that was okay, because they really didn't show their faces. There was a point later on where they did show Destro's face, but he looked like just a regular Scotsman. It was kind of cool. I actually liked that, because he wasn't extraordinary. He wasn't devastatingly handsome. He wasn't ugly. He was just a dude, and I like that. He's a Scottish lord, and I like the way they showed that. Now, I did like how the imposter Cobra Commander Fred VII invaded Destro's castle and got his butt kicked. And then when Cobra Commander actually came back, he just took Destro's castle. Destro, it's like he knew what he could handle and what he couldn't. And Destro was out of there when Cobra Commander actually took his castle. I mean, he definitely stayed there for the defense and everything. But when he realized that Cobra Commander was going to win, he was gone. So, but Destro, does Destro really lose? I mean, yeah, he has defeats in battle in the comics, but he finds a way to turn that defeat into victory in a lot of cases. And the whole Cobra Island debacle, where Serpentor and Fred the Seventh were fighting back and forth, and he just shows up at the end and, no, I just wanted the Baroness. It was just like, what did he really want? As I mean, I know he started selling weapons again, but in the comics, his goal was not world domination once he decided to do the whole Iron Grenadier route. But then when he realized that Cobra was weak and that Fred the Seventh was an idiot, he just came in and took over and was like, all right, the problem is that no one's been running Cobra, and it's been running itself into the ground. And so he just took over and just told them what they were going to do, and they all did it. Even Fred the Seventh as Cobra Commander, because he knew he was outed. So there wasn't really much he could do. I mean, he had the authority that Destro let him have. And of course, Cobra Commander came back and took back over it. That was interesting. I do love the way Larry Hama writes stories. He was like, oh, Cobra Commander's dead for a while. Then he goes, you know what? I think I want Cobra Commander back. So he went into this whole storyline where we brought Cobra Commander back. And the interaction between Cobra Commander and Destro, to me, I mean, I love the stories about the Joes and all the camaraderie they have and everything. But the banter back and forth between the enemy agents was always cool too. Destro, he didn't hate the Dreadnoks in the comics, but he had no respect for him. He was like, what are these guys? But he did respect Zartan in the comics, and I like that. Now, in the Sunbow cartoon, it's a different story. Destro, in the first one, the Menace of the Mass Device in the Sunbow animated series, he took over at some point, and I love the interaction between him and Cobra Commander, where Cobra Commander 3 staff, and he hit him in the back of the head, and I mentioned that before. But Destro, true to form and very much the gentleman, just crushed the staff in front of him and said, I'm still in charge, shut up, basically. And that was Destro. And that was such a great introduction to Destro to young minds, and especially mine. And David Burkhart, I think, is the one who did his voice in that. And I did like the way he portrayed his voice, even though Destro was supposed to be a Scotsman, but it was made for an American cartoon. And I kind of am interested to see the British version of that, where it was Action Force, just to see what kind of voice they would have given Destro. But when I do Destro's voice, I kind of try to give him a Scottish accent. I'm not very good at that, but I got some ideas for that in some future skits that I'm probably going to be doing. But some of my favorite moments in the comics, I did like the one where they found out that Lady J was related to him, and he wasn't really, I don't know, he with what was her name, Laverna Vitale or something like that, the Baroness's disguise, and that she totally fooled him. And I don't know, that was funny, but I don't know if Destro would have really been fooled with that in the comic book. But in the cartoon, that's the way the story went, and Laverna Vitale or something like that. I do like the romance between Destro and the Baroness, and I'm glad that they have that in both the cartoon and the comic book. But Destro, man, he had always been in love with the Baroness from the get-go. There was never any doubt in the storyline that Destro loved the Baroness. Now, and they didn't really get into that at first, but even back, if you go back and read them, Destro, even the Baroness that showed that she loved Destro because she sacrificed herself in the night attack. I think that was issue 16, where she was in the his tank and she sacrificed herself to stop Major Bludd from killing Destro. But she didn't die. I mean, she got her face all burned up and she had to go get plastic surgery and stuff. And that's deep GI Joe lore and embedded in all the file cards and everything now for the Baroness. But for Destro, you can't really mention Destro without the Baroness. And I know I mentioned Destro a bit in her video, but since I've had her video, I kind of like to stay on topic. But I can talk Joe stuff all day long. But Destro the Baroness, I think that's the best couple in the GI Joe verse. I mean, I like Flint and Lady J. That's a great couple. Snake Eyes and Scarlet. I know the comic that's how it is in the comic, and the cartoon is Snake Eyes and Duke. But Snake Eyes and Duke, the only one they really said that they were a couple was the Resolute. And I liked Resolute, but there were certain things they did in Resolute that I didn't like. But that's kind of how it is with all of them, except for Larry Hama stuff. I mean, yeah, there's some things that Larry Hama does. It's like, okay, dude, but he's the man. He's so whatever he does is for me. I'm cool with it because it's his story, and I like to write in that universe, and I like to have my own little headcanon and write my own stuff. Let me see some of the other things in the cartoon that I really liked that I wanted to mention. I did like Cobra Soundwaves, where Cobra Commander was hanging off the cliff, and Destro actually reached to help him, and Cobra Commander slapped his hand away. I don't need any help from you. I did like that interaction, but I think my favorite line of Destro was in Lights, Camera, Cobra, where Cobra Commander was on the ground and Destro flew it in a fire bat and picked him up. And Cobra Commander said, "You saved me." And Destro said, "I saved a customer." That is my favorite line from Destro in the cartoon. It's in my memory. So there it is. Now, hierarchy-wise for Cobra, I mean, in my headcanon, Destro is his own man. When he's involved with Cobra, he's involved with Cobra. When he's not, he's not. And that's just the way I see it. Now, as far as the comic book where they put a mind control device and that brainwashed him in his tooth, I mean, it's an interesting idea. That's one of the things Larry Hama did that I didn't really approve of. I think it would have been better if Cobra Commander had, come full circle and realized he needed to have Destro on his side. And I know he wanted to control him, and that aspect of it I get. But I think it would have been better in the long run, especially for Destro's character, if they'd have just worked things out. And I think they could have. Because Destro's a businessman, first and foremost. If Cobra Commander would have said, all right, look, the past is past. This is what I want. Are you willing to take my money? And I think Destro would have been like, yeah, I'll take your money. But, maybe it was too much water under the bridge for Cobra Commander. I don't know. That was the storyline. For me, I don't like the whole mind control aspect on Destro. I don't know if that's the way it continued in the IDW run, because I don't have it all. And I especially the last bit over the last few years, I don't even have issue 300 yet. And I keep trying to pick it up. And then it's like it just keeps going up in price. So that is what I want to get. I'll probably wait for the trade paperback and get it in that. But if they make one, which they probably will, I mean, the trade paperback seems to do pretty well. What more can I say about Destro that I haven't said already? I mean, he is one of the coolest enemy characters, and you can't necessarily call him Cobra unless he's with Cobra. You can't. I mean, he's always going to have the Iron Grenadiers, but the Iron Grenadiers are his troops. Mentioning his first general, Voltar, who died in the comics. Voltar was good at what he did, and that's why Destro hired him. Scrap Iron originally kind of worked for Destro. I'm not so sure in the cartoon, but in the comic book, that's where he came from, was Mars. So where Scrap Iron's loyalties lie is really hard to fathom too, because they didn't really delve much into his character in either the cartoon or the comic. Which I definitely want to pick up that new Scrap Iron and actually go in and do a video for him, but that's for another day, obviously, because I don't have him yet. But for Destro, though, I think I can sum it up by saying he is, to me, the most important enemy character in the series. I mean, Cobra Commander is my favorite, so don't get me wrong. But Destro, without him, they wouldn't have half the weapons that they have. they wouldn't have half the technology that they have. All that came from Destro's Mars. So there we are in a nutshell. I'm going to take one last look at this Destro figure before I sign out here today. But I do like it, and I probably should just swap those cases around because that's my only issue with it. So next week, I've got for Joe Takes number 20. I got a special figure planned for that. I'm going to actually take a look at Duke. Now I know a lot of people he's one of their favorite leaders and favorite characters too. I do like Duke. He's not my favorite character. He's definitely not my favorite leader, but I do like that character, and I do like some of the stuff they've done with him in the classified line, and I do have his vintage figure. So I'll definitely be taking a look at them next time. And oh yeah, I was gonna mention that it was kind of weird because I've got Destro and Duke back to back, and I didn't even plan this, but that's D&D. And yesterday I did a video D&D and me for Dungeons and Dragons, and then next week I'm doing AD&D and me as a part 2. So I'm doing D&D back to back. And I didn't even think about that. Well, it was day before yesterday that I did the video, but it's real early in the morning. Some of these days run together for me. But that was my take on Destro, and I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a little bit. I got some photos and stuff at the last year with these file cards. That video I put out on Monday. I'm just gonna put it right here at the end of the video, and I hope you guys enjoy. And with that all being said, Logan out.
Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I'll fight these lights I ride to help me through the night.
Land of illusion, losing my fuse, confused by confusion, causing contusions, lost in these shoes and losers. True to the rules, never choose the future. Who's gonna be the next to try? Thinking that you're gonna cut me down to size. Thinking when you're gonna look into my bye-bye. You ain't even with another line to write. Evacuate my sight. I hold the flame that melts the chain. Oh no, let's say my name. Now flow. Till it begins to rain. I haven't looked at the hearts and minds of those from the world that want to steal your life with their lies. Break your pride, making you a victim for the demo side.
Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I'll fight these lights I ride to help me through the night. Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I'll fight these lights I ride to help me through the night.
I scrap away my pains. If I never make a move, then the game will never change. It's time to hit the road. From city to city we go. We ready to put on a show and spread our message across the globe. As freedom been liberty slowly erode, as tyranny started to grow. You can stand up and face it or lie down and take it, but make it your duty to know. Never forget we're the ones in control. Can take what they offer, but me, oh, I'm on my eyes, on my price, on my sights, on my goals. It's time that we rise and take over the throne.
Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road. Through the darkest nights I'll fight these lights I ride to help me through the night. Welcome to the game, it's time for the show. Gonna do my thing when I hit the road.
Greetings, Joe fans. I'm Christopher Logan Hilt, the GI Joe Gamer, and today on Joe Takes number 20, we're going to be talking about Duke from the Hilt. I wanted to do a special video on the 20th Joe Takes, so we're going to jump right in and we're going to start looking at figures. Now, this is one of those that when I broke him out to put him on the battle stand, he had an ankle mishap, and since I've been doing these, this is the second time it's happened to me, so I kind of feel kind of lucky. I see a lot of other people have other issues, and I do like this Duke figure. Now, I don't know why the classified figure doesn't come with a helmet. Pretty much all the Dukes had a helmet. There was one in '93 that had a helmet that couldn't come off. I didn't. That was like one of the better looking Duke figures, but of the vintage line. But I didn't like it because the helmet didn't come off, and it kind of made his head look a little wonky. And I had the one in '92, so I didn't bother. But this Duke figure, it comes with the binoculars and the same gun that Stalker came with. That was just, I think that was their typical field leader issue rifle at the time when GI Joe first started. I know that's my headcanon probably. And he came with the backpack with the spade in it, the entrenching tool. So there is the vintage Duke. Pop his helmet back on. Okay. Now, like I said, I did have the Tiger Force Duke that came out in 1988. That was the same figure, just repainted and remolded in a different plastic, colored plastic. And he had brown hair, and I had that one, but I basically used that figure for parts because I like the original Duke better. I just did. And like I said, like I've said before, I think when you do that as a kid, you do a lot of things like that. But I did pick up this Duke, and this one had a different issue altogether. Its weapons were made from such a cheap plastic that even the I think it was a bipod for the rocket launcher this character came with. We do have some artwork that's going to be in the end of the video that was in the on Joe Takes 20 video that I'm going to have at the end of this video because this is Joe Takes 20. But it shows his file card. I don't know if it. I may have got the artwork for this one too, but he's sitting on the cannon, and I always thought that looked really funny. But this action figure is actually really good, and this is the one they had in the Deke cartoon. But yeah, they drew him okay in the Deke cartoon, but it was the Deke cartoon. Now this one they didn't use in the comics. They kind of skipped this one and went right to the one after because in the comics that was a better looking uniform. And this one is this kind of it's his desert camo, but with the reddish orange that's on there. I don't know. It's a kind of a really, I don't know what color of red you would call it. It's almost kind of pink, but it was okay. I still like the original vintage Duke better, but that's how it is. So I do have some carded examples now. They did one for the retro line that just came out not too long ago for Walmart's, the Walmart exclusive retro line. And this was as far as I'm concerned, the screaming Duke with his mouth wide open. I have one in and out of the package. I had one in and out of the package for all of these. I actually had 2 stalkers. That one became really easy to come by. I don't know why. But a lot of people say this is the one where he's taking a dump. But it's supposed to be him shouting, "Yo, Joe," but that's not what it looks like. The card art is still really nice, but then they fumbled on the file card with the cheap 5-language file cards. I don't really care for, but there's that one. And then I do have the Tiger Force Duke in the 25th anniversary line, and it's a pretty good figure. It definitely looked better than the original. And I don't remember whether he had the blonde hair or not, or if they made his hair brown like the Tiger Force one. But we definitely will be looking at some of that kind of stuff here today too with the classified. I've got both of the Duke figures for the classified, so that's going to be pretty fun to look at. So there's his file card. Again, it's going to be at the end, in the end bits here when I do show off the art and the file cards. It's kind of cool. I picked up this one too. This is the one I really like for the modern line. It comes with this really cool stand and the flag. And this is the one, it's like supposed to be from GI Joe the movie where he flies up onto the Statue of Liberty and plants the flag. So it's pretty cool. I do like this one a lot. Now, that takes us to the classified box art. Now, of course, it had the standard back, and he was number 4 in the line. And there's the box. Good artwork. I like this one. I have that a better shot of that in the end bits. Interesting box, and I'm gonna hang on to this a little bit over here because I'm looking look at this other box that I have for a Duke figure, and this one happens to be number 40 in the line. And I thought it was really interesting, and this is why I kept this over here, is because if you look at it, you've got 04, 0, and 40. I thought that was really an interesting coincidence, if it's a coincidence. It's kind of cool that they did it that way. But then you got the box art. Now, I get a lot of people don't like the art on the box. I'm really digging it. And I like the fact that they put the picture of the figure there. Now, I don't like the ones where they have a picture of the figure on there. That's like Shipwreck. And that was, to me, that was weird. Because, you know, this is my favorite picture of Duke that they have on box art. And I really dig that. And that was the thumbnail for On Joe Takes 20. So I had a good shot of that one. And I scanned that one. So I was able to get a really good scan of it and put it up. Now, this is the look at the Tiger Force Ram. Now, when I take a look at Breaker, I'll compare the two bikes. And I'll be doing that in just a few weeks. I don't remember. I've got them all scheduled and what I'm going to be doing for quite a while. And so that's the box art for Duke. And then we'll look at the classified figure. Now, I'm pretty sure this was the original because it has the gold on it. I know they did a repaint. His head there. That covered up the gold. So I actually am glad I got the original because I don't know, I like the gold and everybody complains about the Joe Pros, but I like them. Now the gun is my issue, and it's kind of warped and bent when it was in the box, and I've heated it and done all that stuff, and it just doesn't want to straighten out. And then you got the backpack with the entrenching tool, not exactly the same as the vintage, but it's very similar. So I'll compare them a little bit together there. It's similar but not the same. I think this was actually Airborne's backpack that's just redone, if I remember correctly. But he's got the sidearm, and he didn't come with a combat knife, but he does have binoculars on his belt. They're little. Let me take the backpack off so you get a better look. But those come off, and so he did come with a pair of binoculars. They were more modern, and of course I had to drop something. What kind of Joe Takes can we have without dropping an accessory? So let me grab that real quick. But we'll put it back on, and we'll set him aside because we are going to look at what I've considered to be the superior classified Duke, and that would be the opposite of the original, because I didn't care much for the Tiger Force Duke in the vintage line, but this Tiger Force Duke, to me, the kickstand, I like the way that works too. You don't really need it. It just keeps it from moving around when you're trying to do things. And I forgot to put that up when I was filming On Joe Takes 20. That's the funny part. But this Duke, the Tiger Force Ram is pretty cool. I mean, some of the color choices, like the red on the gun, I mean, I would have rather that it was black, doesn't stay together very well. But neither did the original one that came with Breaker. But we'll take him off here so we can get a better look at this Duke figure. But we'll take a better look at the Ram cycle, the Tiger Force Ram without it. Now, those teeth, that's kind of cool. I like the black windshield. Again, I think they should have done the handlebars in black as well. The red, just I'm not digging it. It's not bad. It's just, I don't know. I think black would have been a better color. So you can get a good look at that. I do like on the original Ram, the controls, and I did like that the handlebars were adjustable and you could move them around quite a bit. And it didn't move much this way, but the wheels move pretty good, and they're decent tires, and it's hefty. It's not a cheap toy. I did like the fact that it wasn't a cheap toy. The black seat is nice. Sidecar, just like the original Ram, looks good. It's a nice toy. Now, I was looking more forward to having the Ram, but I have to admit, this Duke figure is pretty good. I'm going to straighten him out here before I show you up here on the screen for you. Now, first and foremost, this Duke, the gun, they fixed it. Okay, That's the fix that I really, really like about these two figures. Now, I don't know what the problem was, but I know this is Stocker's gun. This was Stocker's gun too, so that doesn't bother me at all. I'm glad they gave him the Stocker's gun. It's decent. The clip comes out, or the magazine, I should say. It's a clip. The clips are inside the magazine, actually. But we're in the realm of make-believe at this point, right? That pistol again. I did like the tiger stripes on this particular Duke, not the original. The colors on this one are better. The hair is blonde like it's supposed to be. This is just a superior Duke figure to this one. Just about in every way, shape, or form. The only thing I like about this one is the colors are is more like the vintage. In some ways, and in some ways not. But good. I like the new Duke. He's pretty cool. Again, he's not in my top 10. Duke's a good character. Not one of my extreme favorites. My least favorite of the leaders. You know what? I actually think maybe I like Duke a little better than the Falcons, so I can't say he's my least favorite leader. But of the sergeants, yep, I would say that Duke is my least favorite GI Joe field leader sergeant. Now, I know they always had Duke leading in the cartoon. Didn't lead much in the comics in the field. He did it first. Now, there are some really good ones, and I'll be looking at the comics here in a bit, and I'll be talking about that a little bit here in a minute. But this Duke, I don't know. It works for me. And again, it has the little binoculars on the back, which you can hardly see there, but you can still see them. But again, the major fix, I don't know why they didn't have him come with a gun like this when he first came out. I know they were going for something when they first brought him out. So that futuristic type feel to it, and they were trying to do their own thing, but I don't think they realized what they were dealing with. They were dealing with fans that wanted Joe's to look more like the vintage. And they were starting a new collection, and here we got all these new figures, and the only one that looked remotely, well, I have to say, I can't say that because they all kind of remotely look like the original vintage. You had Roadblock as the first one. I know that Snake Eyes was in the deluxe one first, but it was way, I don't have that one, and it's way different than the number 2 figure that came out. That was Snake Eyes as well, and then Destro was number 3, and Scarlet was 5, and Duke was 4. Those were your first wave of the classified figures, and they did okay with the original wave. That's what actually I bought the original wave, and that's what got me to start getting the rest of them. So it was kind of cool. I wasn't sure. The first one I got was Roadblock, ironically. And I had Roadblock. That was Roadblock. It was the only one I had for a long time. And then I got the Scarlet figure. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to collect them or not yet. But one day I had them out, and I was messing with them to see if I was going to collect them. And I put Scarlet on Roadblock shoulders, and I was like, okay, I'm done. These figures pose really well, and I left them like that for a good 2 weeks, with Scarlet just sitting on him, her legs behind his back, and him carrying her legs. And I should have taken a picture. I really should have, but I didn't. I might set it up again someday. But that was kind of cool. But it led me to get Snake Eyes and then Destro Duke. And so that takes us to the comic by Larry Hama, Marvel Comics. Now, this is one of the coolest covers they did back then. But it's really the only one that I could find a good shot of Duke in his original uniform. Now, there's a few others, but the coloration is off. It's kind of weird. And I looked through the whole series earlier before I picked this one out. And it was the first one. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's really the first that's the first Duke that I found. And I'm like, I knew it. I was like, I'm going to go back, and this is going to be the one I'm going to show off, because I went through the whole series, and way later on in the almost the last few, they had Duke in that 93 uniform that I don't have, with the helmet that doesn't come off, because in the comics that worked really good, and they had a few of him on that, but they weren't really that great. This is actually the best cover of the comics, in my opinion, with Duke on, and this is the issue where they had taken Cobra Commander prisoner in the issue before this one. I do like this one with Clutch and Roadblock and Duke. This was really Duke's first mission as leader, and they captured Cobra Commander, and then they had him up on this mountain, and they assembled the original GI Joe headquarters and called it their prefab fortress. It was kind of cool. They ended up having a Skyhawk in here, and Storm Shadow actually showed up and rescued Cobra Commander, and then Storm Shadow, man, he the Joes tried to stop him, and Gung Ho was the first one to come in contact with him, and he just cut Gung Ho down, and Gung Ho nearly died. It's kind of cool, but Roadblock came up, and he put a hurting on Storm Shadow. Once he got a hold of Storm Shadow, it was over. It was the whole Expendables Dolph Lundgren versus Jet Li thing. Jet Li was whooping his butt, and then Dolph Lundgren got one hit in, and it was pretty much over. That was the same situation going on here. And so Roadblock, when they took him to Alcatraz after this, Roadblock didn't, Storm Shadow didn't mess with Roadblock at all. He waited until he was alone, and then he just escaped. It was pretty cool. But, he's a ninja. Of course he escaped. I don't know why they thought they could contain him. Some of my favorite memories with Duke in the comics were those two issues back to back. He was like covered ops, and him and Roadblock were sitting in a restaurant, and Roadblock was complaining about the food, and Duke was talking about it. It's so serious and not ignoring everything Roadblock was saying about the food, everything. He wasn't ignoring him, but he was paying more attention to the mission because he knew that Roadblock was also paying attention to the mission. Roadblock was one of his buddies from their previous unit, and so was Flint, and he brought Roadblock with him, and then he brought Flint over too. So really cool stuff in the comics. And Duke had his moments in the comics, but it really wasn't his series. It was more Hawk's series. And I know a lot of people may disagree with me on that point, but Hawk was really the leader. Now, for a while there, Duke came and took over. But once Hawk was the general again, Larry Hama, it was Hawk's show pretty much to the end. Even the last cover didn't have Duke on it, and they were closing the pit. And Duke was, as far as I could see, if he wasn't, it was his back or something. And it wasn't really a good cover image, even if he was on it, but I don't think he was. To me, this was the best cover of G.I. Joe with Duke, at least in the Marvel era. I'm not so sure about the Sunbow era. I mean, not Sunbow, the IDW era, because I've got some of those, and I may do a video where I look at the whole comic book series. In fact, I am going to be doing a video here coming up. I've been doing these D&D and Me and AD&D and Me, and next week I'm going to do like Endless Quest and Me, Endless Quest books and Me, and then the week after that I'm going to do G.I. Joe and Me, and I decided I'm going to look at all the comics that I have. I've got 3 of these full. I've got this one here that has all the vintage that I have. All of the vintage. I keep calling it vintage because that's the way the figures go too. But no, this is the Marvel run, and then I have Special Missions and some of the newer ones from Image and Devil's Due, and then I have I started some. I got an IDW box too, and I have some of those. But I mostly have for the IDW trade paperbacks. I did have a subscription to it for a while, but I don't remember really Duke being as prominent of a character as maybe he should have been, based on his popularity. But Larry Hama, he did take a liking to Duke later on, but I think at first he was kind of like, well, I already have Hawk, but I also really think Larry Hama preferred to tell the story from the enlisted man's perspective. But it's my opinion. As far as the comics are concerned, though, as the series progressed, Duke was delegated to just sending people into the field, and he didn't really lead a lot of missions. Well, then there's the Sunbow cartoon. He was the leader in the first one. He was the leader in the first miniseries, and in the second miniseries, and then the first season. And then Hawk came on for the second season, and it was still kind of Duke. I mean, Hawk was more in the second season, but Hawk wasn't in it before that because they didn't use it. They had Duke, and that was pretty cool. And I've talked about the way I like the command structure in that, and I see it as that Duke is Hawk's NCO, and when Hawk's not there, Duke is the leader of GI Joe, and so he was the acting field commander in the cartoon. He was originally the acting first sergeant, but I'm sure at some point they solidified that position. And Hawk always had Flint serving as his XO. Even Larry Hama was saying that at some point, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that. But it did say that he served as the XO of the Joe team for quite a while, which means he was the second in command, the executive officer. And Beachhead was his NCO. But 4 of them, they even laid that out in Arise, Serpento Arise, where Beachhead, Flint was saying that Beachhead was getting the chain of command down. And Flint was saying first comes Hawk, then Duke, then me, and finally you. And then they added Sergeant Slaughter to the mix by the end of that miniseries. But for the most part, I kind of see it that Duke is Hawk's senior NCO. So he is their first shirt. Which is why he can be in charge without when Hawk's not there. So that's the way I envision it, and that's the way I see it. So that's my take on the rank and structure of GI Joe. But I did want to mention some of the comics. I mean, not the comics, the Sumbo cartoon that I really liked. Duke was a prominent character in that series. Battle for the Train of Gold was a good one. Actually, that was more of a Gung Ho episode, but Duke was featured prominently in the beginning, and he had blown up kind of by Major Bludd and left. Everybody thought he's dead, but he got up, and Duke was always getting hurt in the cartoon. One of my least favorite things about Duke was the fact that he was either out of commission, in a coma, or something. Duke was always, oh no, Duke's hurt, so somebody else has to take charge. In Revenge of Cobra, when he got captured, Flint took over. In the original series, when he got captured by Cobra and was gone for a bit, Scarlet and Stalker kind of took over. In some instances, Stalker seemed to be in charge, and others, Scarlet seemed to be in charge. The cartoon was never really clear on the chain of command until the second season of the series. In the first season, it was Duke or Flint. And that's pretty much it. I mean, occasionally they'd have other Joes lead, but Duke was definitely the commanding officer in the cartoon. There was never any doubt about that. Let me see if I can think of my favorite episode with Duke. I have to say it's the Menace of the Mass Device. In spite of the fact that he got captured and he wasn't really in a coma, but he was unconscious when they found him, and then it took him a while to come around and stuff. But his was really the coolest adventure in that miniseries. Some of the coolest interactions with Cobra was between Cobra and Duke. So Menace of the Mass Device. I did like 20 Questions, although Duke only showed up at the end. Which Hector Ramirez came up and kissed him on the cheek. He was just standing there aghast, like he couldn't even speak. And that was the one time I ever saw Duke at a loss for words. And the other one I really liked was the one. It was Excalibur, which was where him and Flint were off looking for quick kick, Footloose, and Spirit, and they were out on their own. And my cat is invading my video again, but the interaction between Duke and Flint and that is definitely my favorite Duke moment, really. And pretty much anything Flint asked for, he would get, and Duke would just react to it like, this is ridiculous. But it was fun to watch, and so I could talk GI Joe all night, but that's pretty much my take on Duke. And with that all being said, log it out. Now, before I go, I did want to mention next week that I'm doing Tomax and Zamo from the Hill. So we'll be looking forward to that. And Luna had to get on camera, so here she is. But take it easy.
It's time. It's time for me to rise above the superstitious game. Hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind and speak that raven, stack up on my chain. So no matter what you say to me, cause it's time for me to rise above this superstitious game. Hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind and speak that raven, stack up on my chain. So no matter what you say to me, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm on the grind and every day I hustle for my dough. Wanted them up just for a buck to put it up in the flow. Get my foot up in the door, it's only the beginning. I ain't never gonna stop in this race. I know I'm winning. Cause A&Rs and everybody's gonna feel this track. Like I squeezed one in your chest and stole your ass cap. As a matter of fact, to my fans, my rap is crack. Fiending for another line to drop up out my sack. Slacks and lacks don't make a difference in this game. But you gotta sell an image if you wanna make a name. I don't consider myself to be a link in the chain. Cause I'm the one who holds the torch and light to the flame. Segregation of our nation, revelations is here. Trials and tribulations that we facing is clear. The end of the world is coming closer by the year. So you better clean your act, judgment day is coming near. It's time for me to rise above the superstitious game. Hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind, I speak that real and stack up on my chain. So no matter what you say to me, cause it's time for me to rise above the superstitious game. Hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind, I speak that real and stack up on my chain. So no matter what you say to me, I'm gonna do my thing.
Run up the black roll, put it on down with the shit in that skill. Let it make them meals with an axe package, try to make them deals with a get up on my back, just a big thing kill. Run up on the floor to the top of the game, with a little bit of dirt, it's a copy. Your name is a hop in the flames, I'm a drop on the pain, the real is down, might not be the same. You too much for me to slow it down, I've been through it. I knew the day would come when I would just have to do it. Influenced by the highest power, knowledge itself. Imbued with psychopathic tendencies for my health, so I fly.
I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I appreciate you all for rocking with me for so long. This went on a little longer than I had planned, and I think I'm not muted, but I am. I don't know why I can hear myself in the background here. It's weird, but I hope you guys can. I'm going to wrap things up with a video here, and just tie it off with a little bit of GI Joe music.
The ultimate red flush is blue, but it sure isn't anything new.
I was muted. You guys have a good night. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
GI Joe reporting from Julie Unseen. Your Joe is the Joe's
I'll still be in the chat for a bit.